We're just going to wait a couple minutes we're just waiting for one more board member who should be here shortly. That's not 601. 602. All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on our last Board of Education meeting for this school year. Thank you for coming out on this rainy day. And we would like to have you all join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to start our board meeting with our recognitions. We have obviously a lot of people here that we're going to recognize today. Thank you for coming for this. With the Board of Education, really love seeing your faces and being able to go ahead and witness and experience this with you guys. So we appreciate you coming, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Van Fossen.
Thank you very much. And again, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming, as Mrs. Spooner just said. And we apologize, it's a little tight in here. Like I said, usually we bat about 500, but should have known tonight with the prestigious group that you would all be attending. So thank you. First of all, we have 3 recognitions, and how we'll do this is we're going to read a recognition as to why you're being recognized. We have certificates, and then we're going to get a group picture. And then we'll call it the next group, same process, group picture, same thing. And then we take about a 10 to 15 minute recess and just try to, say hello. You don't have to, you can certainly leave if you'd like. I know we have some students that have to get to a concert, but that's our process. And then once we're done, you're free to leave or you're free to stay if you want to stay for the rest of the meeting. So. And usually we don't have a huge contingent that stays, so don't feel bad.
It won't be insulted.
That's right. That's right. All right, so first we're going to start with Music in March. And so Music in March, we celebrated. We invited all of our music groups to the high school auditorium. And we were notified that there was a group from elementary that were not able to attend because they had their own performance. So I want to read the recognition, and then Mrs. Decker is going to call you up. She has your certificate, and then we'll get a picture with Mrs. Spooner and Mrs. Ross. So let me read just a brief little recognition as to why you're being recognized tonight. March, often known as Music in Our Schools Month, is a time when we come together to recognize the significance of music education and its profound impact on individuals and communities. It is time to celebrate the musicians, the educators, and the countless individuals who have dedicated themselves to the world of music. For students involved in music programs, March is an opportunity to showcase their talents, dedication, and hard work. Whether it's participating in school concerts, joining ensembles, or taking part in music competitions, students are given a platform to shine and share their love for music with the world and our community. On behalf of the Maine-Endwell Central School District and Board of Education, we want to celebrate and congratulate you on your participation in our music programs and encourage you, more importantly, to continue to play and be part of this wonderful program as you continue on through Maine-Endwell. So again, on behalf of the board and the district, we want to say congratulations. Thank you for being part of this wonderful program. And Mrs. Decker, if you would like to call up the students and hand out their certificates. Thank you.
Gabriella House.
And Gabriella, you're going to head right over to the.
Isabella Jaketic. Adeline Smith. Stella Strong. And Charlotte Jankowski.
Thank you. You got that, man? Well, now we'll get some pictures. Moms, dads, if you want to take pictures, relatives, friends, please feel free. We're just going to get one for the website.
You should be here.
Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll see everyone next March. Right? All right, the next group we would like to recognize is our high school mock trial team. So we extend, we're gonna do the run this year. So we extend our congratulations to all of our outstanding court performance and achievements in our mock trial competition, from regional champions to New York State Championship competitors. Your dedication, hard work, and exceptional teamwork have undoubtedly paid off, resulting in remarkable success that deserves to be celebrated. The countless hours of preparation, research, practice, strategizing have all culminated in an outstanding display of legal knowledge, critical thinking, and persuasive argumentation. Your performance in the mock trial competition exemplifies your ability to work collaboratively as a team. Each member of the team played a crucial role, demonstrating unique strengths and skills, which ultimately contributed to your team's success. Moreover, your performance in the courtroom reflects the countless hours of dedication to practice you have invested in presenting and perfecting your skills. Your unwavering commitment to excellence and your relentless pursuit of mastery in the field of law are inspiring. Your achievements in the mock trial competition not only bring pride to yourselves, but also to your school, your coaches, and the wider community. So you have demonstrated the highest standards of academic and professional excellence, and your success will undoubtedly inspire future generations of aspiring legal professionals. So on behalf of the entire community, we want to extend our warmest congratulations and thank you for an outstanding run. And we know that next year, you're going to go all the way and take #1 in New York State, but not to put any pressure. But congratulations and thank you so much. So let's honor each of you. First, Courtney Gilmore, coach. Anastasia Alfarado. Isabella Alfarado. Liam Blanchard. Liam cannot be attended. Eva Mulholland. Daniel Morales. Ariana Neal. Megan Smith. Okay, we'll get a picture. If anyone else wants to grab a picture, please feel free.
Did you put Daniel on the middle? Okay, so our last group to honor and recognize is our top 10, our academic 2023 high school academic top 10. So again, we would just like to read off a reason why we want to recognize you. It is with great pleasure and pride that we extend our congratulations to you on your exceptional academic achievements. Your dedication, your hard work, your intellectual curiosity propelled you to remarkable heights of academic excellence. Your consistent commitment to learning, pursuit of knowledge, and the pursuit of academic excellence has resulted in extraordinary achievements that deserve to be celebrated. Your impressive grades and academic accolades are a testament to your unwavering commitment to your studies, your thirst for knowledge, and your outstanding work ethic. You have consistently demonstrated a deep understanding of subjects you have studied, a remarkable ability to apply critical thinking, and an exceptional capacity to excel in challenging academic environments. Not only have you excelled academically, however, but you've also shown remarkable discipline and time management skills, balancing your studies with various extracurricular activities and responsibilities. Your ability to maintain such a high level of academic performance while actively participating in other aspects of school life is truly commendable and serves as an inspiration to others. Beyond the classroom, your leadership qualities, involvement in community service, and contributions to overall school environment have left an indelible impact. Your passion for making a difference, your empathy towards others, and your dedication to improving the lives of those around you are a testament to your character and your values. So we are all wishing you the best as you continue to pursue your dreams and make this a positive world, a positive difference in the world. So to our top 10, thank you, congratulations. Obviously, we're going to see you in a few days. But we also want to say for the second year, I want to thank high school principal Mark Wilson for making sure that top 10 on our wall as you enter was updated. That's a tradition we're going to continue. And we think that's really cool for a full year for you to come back. And when you do come back, to see yourself up there, at least for next year, to recognize what work you put in. So congratulations to our top 10. So Shane Gordon. John Patrick Cullen. Oliver Leota. Kayla Cataldi. Trey Monaco. Megan Bennett. Ryan Cook. Mary Elizabeth Savage. Salutatorian, Isabella Bordages. and valedictorian Helena Mayo. Again, feel free, once we get a picture, please feel free to take whatever pictures you like.
You need to do like a two-row.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple have to go up front.
You guys want to consolidate?
Bring it down,
Consolidate?
There, a couple short ones come up front. Sorry.
I guess we are.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Everybody look. Oh.
So Diane.
Look at me.
So again, we're gonna take a 10-minute recess. You're free to stay, or if you must leave, we want to say thank you so much, congratulations, and, we appreciate everything you and your children do for the district. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations. That's cool.
All right, so moving on to our reports and presentations. Ava was unable to be with us tonight, but I'd like to introduce all of our board members. This is Brady Lindsay. He's going to be our next student board member. Yeah. We're very happy to have him. I've known Brady, Lindsay's known Brady since he was a kindergartner, so I feel very old right now, but so anyways, Brady is he has Ava's report, so he's gonna go ahead and report that to us.
So, well, background, I got notified last minute that I would be doing this, so I'm sorry if I slur my words a little bit or if I'm a little bit nervous, but
Doing a great job.
Thanks for being there.
Yeah, no problem. So for the high school, the senior class just had prom and it went very well. From a student council perspective, the prom was one of our most successful times of year. And the most important thing is that the seniors enjoyed it, and that's, one of the final send-offs. So that very, very successful operation we just had there. And as the end of the year approaches, our class officers are going to be working on a smooth transition to next year's homecoming. We start working on that very late in the school year, every year, and it's approaching sooner than everybody thinks. So that's student council's next big project, I should say. And to preface that, we just held our building-wide student council elections for our grade level student council members and our executive board. And they have all been, they will be sworn into their positions officially at the beginning of the next school year, but they are already underway working now. The torch has been passed already, and everything's going smoothly thus far. And our student council members, like myself, are continuing to work with Maine-Endwell Teachers Association, and we are going to try and bring back. We are working in unison with the middle school, with the Maine-Endwell Teachers Association, to bring back Battle of the Buildings.
Okay, yeah.
Something that I think we can all get behind. Leading into the middle school, segueing into it. The middle school had a spring carnival that the students enjoyed, so that's very wonderful. And they also had elections for next year's student council members. So yeah, the older two buildings are working rather well. As for the elementary school, Maine Memorial just had their May Day celebration, and all students participated and did things like dances. And I remember traditions like that. So it's wonderful to see that it's still going very strong. Similarly, the Parent-Teacher Association led the Race for Education and were able to raise over $20,000 for these schools. That is a wonderful thing for our community. And I remember that we got benefits for things like that. So it's wonderful to see that that is also going strong. And the students were rewarded by seeing movies at Cinema Saver. So win-win for everybody. And throughout both buildings, many wonderful end-of-the-year field trips are taking place. Just as, a final send-off for the kids going into summer. And the last thing I have for Homer Brink is that the 4 building student council advisors are meeting next week to reflect and discuss the luau we had the previous month, seeing what went well, what we could do better, because that was a fun event that did get, some success, and we are looking to do more things like that for the community. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Brady, for filling in and giving us all that report.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
I just want to commend all of the efforts, but I heard really, really good things about all of the work that went into the after prom party. So I just want to commend those volunteers and parents and teachers and everybody who made that happen, and students who made that happen.
Yes.
If the underclassmen get excited about that, it's a pretty good event. So thanks for all that.
Thanks, Vicki. All right, so going on to our superintendent's reports and updates. So we will go ahead and Mr. Van Possen.
All right, thank you very much. I would like to welcome to the tables Mark Wilson, Rachel Marat, Keith Manchester, and Angela Cheravino, who will help with the presentation on where we are with our work-based learning program heading into 23-24. So thank you, everybody. So this group has been meeting for almost a year, at least since the fall. And we had said we wanted to come back to you with a plan for what our goal, our plan for our work-based learning. This team has put in a lot of time and effort, in particular, Mrs. Marat, Mr. Manchester, regarding the work-based learning program called Sparta. And so Rachel's going to speak to Sparta. Mark, myself, Angela will speak about kind of the pre-planning and what went into it, and then what measures of success are going to look like. And then Keith is going to spend some time talking through what we currently do in district versus work-based learning. So we didn't put together a lot of slides, but we are more than open to just questions as they come. So please feel free to ask as we go. So just a little history, and this is where I said I would start. First of all, we had we had started the work of work-based learning in 2018. And one of the major issues that came out of 2018, and it still exists today, is the number of students that are leaving college with significant student debt in the hundreds of thousands. And then recognizing that it's not necessarily the career field that they want. And so across the country, across New York State, there was real push for making sure that students are leaving high schools with some form of experience regarding what they want to do. Because $40,000 to $80,000 mistake can cripple a person. So one of the areas that this was one of our catalysts, and then also wanting to make sure again that our students had exposure to careers before leaving, not after. The work-based learning framework is really built around these three ideas, and this is what Sparta is built off of. This is what our current programs and offerings is built off of. But this idea from a K-12 perspective, you want to get kids aware. When they're younger, you want them to have opportunities to explore as they progress, and then ultimately you need to develop those skills, whether that's shadowing, internships, specific coursework, or experiences where they're going and they're either getting internship credit or getting paid. So it's really a continuum K-12, and so that's really the jump off for this work-based learning program that we're calling Sparta.
So we came up with three main objectives when we were doing this work-based learning project, essentially. And if you look at the first one, it's about collaboration between those businesses and the school. And we're trying to provide those structure, basically those learning experience that kind of take that learning to the next level. You know, we talked about in our strategic planning about our mission statement over and over, and we talked about adding that word experience into it. This is that idea. You're creating a new experience for students that is going to allow for that premier education to take hold. And I think this is a big part of that. And if you look at the second one, we always talk about how do we get the skills to the students that we know future employers want from them. And we've gone out to future employers and we consistently always hear the same thing of what they're looking for. The same kind of skills keep on coming back to us. That'd be things like communication, teamwork, problem solving, critical thinking. This is a great avenue for them to start getting those skills. Obviously, they can get them within our school too, but this is another avenue to acquire them. And then that last one, this is one of the biggest struggles in education is how do you transfer learning outside the four walls of a classroom and get them to apply it into the real world situation? This is a time when they can actually start doing it before they leave us. They can start practicing that transfer of learning. You know, we've been encouraging things like interdisciplinary, connections for years because we want them to see that what happens in isolation, that's not the case. Learning doesn't happen just in the math room and you never use it outside the math room. We want them to be transferring those skills over and over again. And now they get to do it in kind of a practice realm and they get to learn from these employers and get new advice that's going to allow them to see how to best use those skills they've learned for years and years at Maine-Endwell. So this goes all the way, like Jason said, we've been thinking about this for roughly a year, going over. And one of the first things we did was we evaluated what are we already doing in district and what are we doing out of district. I think we were surprised a little bit that we had quite a bit going already when you actually got down to it. And I'll let Angela and Keith do that in a second, but one thing Maine-Endwell is good about is when a situation arises, taking advantage of it. And I want to give this student a specific shout out, just because we have a student working with our IT department. It's a single student. And he has done such phenomenal things this year working with the IT department. It's remarkable. It's Billy Gorman, many of you know, but he was instrumental in setting up the softball field sound system, which is a very complex type of project. I mean, from the nuts and bolts all the way through this project. So part of it is taking advantage of situations and skills when they come up, but I'll let Angel and Keith kind of talk about all the different things happening.
With the in-district things, the first point we had up there was some of the maintenance and custodial things. A lot of times we have kids that maybe they can't get into a work environment outside of school, they can't get an after-school job or whatever. Maybe they can't get transportation to it. So those are the kids we kind of reach out to. They're not your normal kids that we try to say, oh, you're gonna be this, you're gonna be that. It's situational. And it also helps out the district. It's a win-win because we fill in voids where we need more help in those areas. So that's a great area. The Spartan Cafe, you all know about, we're about 5 years in on that. We offer almost 20 kids an opportunity to work. Hopefully, Mark's helping with this, we're rescheduling a little bit so kids have more periods that they can actually work. So we're trying to get more kids involved if we can. Great skills, so they go out and get a real job, they know the responsibilities that they have to. I still have, if a kid's out sick, he calls in just like he would at a job. If he can't be there, if he has to be out sick, whatever it is, they'll do those things. With Binghamton University, one of the programs we run here is we have an education class where kids go out. It's a Southern Tier Teaching Academy. So the kids actually go out to field trips and things. But the whole idea of that program is we want homegrown kids to come back and teach for us in 5 or 6 years. So we have probably 8 kids in the program this year. That would be great if they come back. Maybe they're going to be our future teachers. We love to come back. As an alumni, I'd love to come back and work at the same district that you grew up in because you love the atmosphere of where it is. So we're going to try to keep that talent here at home. We're going to have a few more field trips now that COVID's done. They're running the construction day. It's not just going to be the trades this time. They're going to do STEM programs. They're going to do engineering programs. It's everything included. Everybody wants kids to get more exposure. They want our students out there to do things. So you might go and lay a brick. You might run a tractor. You might actually, they did things with solar the last time. So that's going to expand. The Visions Credit Union's up there. That's been running well for a lot of years. We're going to incorporate those a little bit into my business curriculum next semester because we're actually going to do a class that will help out kids with the financial literacy part of what they do. So they're going to help come into the classroom for that because they have a great skill set for that. The Lockheed Martin one, Lockheed Martin loves to get our kids in for an internship. They go and apply and actually interview, and Lockheed takes them on full boat. So it's just like a college internship program. And the big thing I think we found was with all these programs, every college out there is making these kids take internships now. So if we can get them a little bit of experience so that they get a feel for it before they go to college or before they go into a trade, they have to get some skills after they're done.
And then through BOCES, there are lots of different opportunities for students. These are the main programs that are run through BOCES. The Youth Apprenticeship Program, probably most people know about the education YAP students, which Julie has worked tirelessly to really build up in the district. And that is a great experience for our kids. We're expanding to place more students out at Maine Memorial too, so that both elementary buildings are gonna benefit from that. So that's right within Maine-Endwell. So we can actually probably make that in district too, but it is run through BOCES. Then out of district placements in local businesses and different agencies, tech, engineering, health, our human public service placements. So each March, we get a listing of postings that students apply for, and they're interviewed through people at BOCES or through the agencies, like Lourdes Hospital does their own interviews for the health placements. Career and tech ed is probably the most common thing that many people are aware of, the BOCES program. So your trades, cosmetology, they're really expanding. Their criminal justice program now includes emergency services and police, fire, any kind of like emergency service that you can think of, including law enforcement. Expanding with manufacturing too, computer and information technology. Then New Visions is another program that's very popular through BOCES, very competitive. So we're trying to find kind of like an in-between for students to have more experiences. So New Vision's very competitive, health, engineering, business, law and government, and education. And then P-Tech is a 6-year program. Those students are selected in 8th grade, in the spring of 8th grade. And basically their associate's degree is paid for by the district over the course of 6 years. They get a head start on college. They spend half of their day at BOCES, and then by senior year, they're at Broome all day long. And there's 3 different areas right now, pathways that they can pick: computer technology, engineering, and health studies. And Broome is looking to expand those a little bit too, depending on the need in the area. And what positions, what jobs are difficult to fill.
So we'll pause there before we jump into Sparta, just if there's any questions regarding these programs or anything that's come up.
I have a question. Maybe this is for Mark. Can you give me an idea of, for the in-district ones, if that is just a collective number
What number are we talking about?
of current enrollees?
How many students have
Yeah.
participated?
Numbers wise, and then maybe if you could give me a rough idea of each category of out-of-district current enrollment?
Yeah, so we go from like the maintenance and custodial, there's a handful of kids that engage in that more in the summer. You know what I mean? But in the year, they're like consistently, like in the high school, you'll have a handful of workers, right? There's 3 that were consistent throughout, but there's more in the summer for sure. Cafe, as Keith said, there's about 20-ish, about 8. There's gonna be 15 in the education classes next year, I believe is the number, for that program. I mean, field trips, that just varies on the field trip. You could talk
I'll
about,
jump in on that one though. I just have to say, because I was proud of this.
Then
I was at
we're the
BOCES
highest,
and
yes.
we had the highest number of, out of all of the districts in our BOCES, we sent the most kids to construction day.
Well,
And everybody was like,
Construction Day,
how
it's
did
pretty
you do
awesome.
that?
Yeah. And these numbers are for all categories, are across all grades.
Well, it was 9-12, really.
yeah, it
Yeah,
depends
right,
on,
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, that's my.
like you
all
have to
high
be a
school grades.
senior to be in the education class, for
Okay,
example.
okay,
So some of
yeah.
them are dependent on grade.
Yeah,
Like that women in business, girls who code.
Yeah.
those are all grades.
I spoke to Angela. We were asked to experiment that program at SUNY Binghamton, and so we decided to send all our juniors.
Mhm.
So our junior girls went to that. It was open to either, but just by the name, but we sent
Either-
all of our, boys
Either-
could go,
Oh, okay.
but we
I
didn't have
if you meant
anybody.
junior and senior.
We didn't have anybody, but we sent our whole junior class to
Yeah.
that for the first time, and they were able to give them feedback and stuff. It was a pretty neat day, so just depends.
And like with visions, the only requirement really is that you have to be 16.
Uh-huh.
Lockheed Martin, I think you have to be 16 also for that.
And then the out-of-district ones?
So YAP is juniors and seniors. Career and Tech Ed is juniors and seniors. New Visions is just for seniors, and then P-Tech is really, it
Yeah.
starts, they identify them in 8th grade, they start the program in 9th.
And I know New Visions is, very, very competitive.
Right.
Are the other ones kind of that, roughly that number?
CTE, we have
What's the
54.
first?
54.
Yeah.
54 across all those.
54 in CTE.
Same number roughly for next year as well.
Yep.
It's roughly the same.
P-Tech, we have 7, and then New Visions, we have 5.
Yeah.
7 is a big number for P-TECH.
And what's the app?
As the size of our district. I did P-TECH in Binghamton before I came to Maine-Endwell.
Yeah.
And
we
they only
have,
had 12.
Yeah,
8 and yeah.
So
yeah.
Eight.
Yep.
It depends, so like, for example, Lourdes has 2 positions for the whole entire area, and both of those positions next year our Maine-Endwell students. So that's,
That always just depends on who wins
Yeah.
out the interview process.
Yeah.
Education, how many YAP students?
We have
do
9 next year.
E-Tech, they end up with an associate's degree.
Yeah.
at the end.
Yeah, it's geared towards first generation
Yeah.
college students that our school counselors work 8th grade in conjunction with our high school to choose those students that may not have a chance, but we think that there's potential and they have an interest in it.
We have the largest contingent of students that participate in P-TECH
Yes.
in the region.
And they're
And
very
are
successful.
successful,
And they're
yeah.
very successful.
So these out of district, just for my own understanding, this basically all run both through BOCES?
Yeah.
Okay.
How much do you want to grow this? Like, what's your goal? Where do you want to get to?
Well, so I think that part of it will depend on, we want to see how this first year goes. So this is our trial run of it, but ideally, we would like to get as many students that it would help, you know, what I mean, and they are interested in positions. So we'd like to take this year, use it as our pilot, but we want to make it open to students that, you know, this is something that they have interest in. So ideally, you know, we want to match the demand at some point.
Okay. I have lots of questions. I'm sorry. I'll hold most of them because I imagine you're going to answer it as you continue to go through. But one question that I have related to Lynn's is, how are you all recruiting into these? Because I know, you know, sometimes it can be challenging to get girls to go to construction day or engineering or business or, you know, or kids who, you know, have challenging schedules or whatever.
Recruiting students? How are you
Recruiting,
recruiting
yeah, students
Yeah.
to participate in the events or the opportunities.
so really for the field trips, I think, for example, one thing that we utilize all the time, and it sounds kind of silly, is we make everybody join a remind group. So they get a text about it.
Yeah, teenagers are great
So,
at ignoring that stuff.
Yes,
I know,
but
yeah.
if the parents are on it too,
Right.
then it makes a difference. So we
Yeah.
run announcements. We have like Dave Beard is instrumental in doing that too through his tech
I
classes.
think committees like this help us too,
yeah.
because we're all in different disciplines, so we cover a lot of our kids, just with
And so
different
you're
people.
talking about that in your.
Oh,
In
in
class,
class,
yeah.
We'll
everything
say,
else,
hey,
promote
here's
everything.
this, can you mention this to your classes?
Yeah.
Sign up with Dave or sign up, you know, with Keith or
Because, yeah, the hardest part for me is I
whatever it
don't see everybody for the vision sign up, but if I go to an English teacher or social studies teacher, they just announce it in class, I'll get 5 more kids there.
Yes, right, so it's not all on.
So it's all about
guidance office
collaboration between stuff, so committees like this help immensely. with
Yeah.
that.
And then like some of the BOCES programming, like the counselors go into all of the 10th grade classrooms and talk about BOCES, then we take students to the visitation.
Yeah,
And we have a very short application process and, that we have increased, we talked to Jason and said, we have this number of students that really are very interested. We have them tell us what their career goal is at this point. And, you know, as long as it's something that they're really interested in, we have the support of the district to send them. New Visions, they come in also, they do an informational meeting, they have an open house at BOCES. P-TECH is really more the middle school. Again, it's like typically, we're looking at like the first generation or students that have potential but might not have the means to go to college, and they're identified that way. We remind, to post it, give it to,
Announce it a million times.
announce it 1,000 times.
I think the success of the kids the year before helped immensely too.
Yeah, they hear about
So-
it too.
My son was one of the YAP kids this year for education, so he talks about it all the time.
So for out of district, it seems like there's some, only so many students are allowed to participate in certain programs and so forth.
Right.
So in district, are we looking at ourselves connecting with other types of businesses to go ahead and expand the opportunities for work-based learning?
Yep.
I told
might be a
Rachel, Rachel's gonna
Let's,
help
we're
you.
gonna
Maybe we
go
should
down
put
Rachel.
Yeah.
Got it.
we hope Sparta fills in the gaps.
Yes.
You know, if you
I
looked at,
looked through this, but, okay.
yeah, well, if you threw darts and said everyone up there that's in those has a placement, we're looking to fill the ones that
gaps.
don't,
Right,
right? I mean,
Okay.
ultimately. All right.
Yeah, because we really are limited by
right,
BOCES constraints, really. Like, we've increased the number of students that are going to New Visions program, because again, we approached Jason and said, you know, we have this number of students, but still, that is out of our control, because we don't actually end up picking the kids.
right.
They go through the interview process and
Right.
pick them.
So that's why I was wondering, what can
Yeah.
we do more that we're in control
This is
of?
where we are.
Okay,
So I think, did you want?
No.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna address most of that in the next set of slides, so Jason, could you go to the next slide? So when we were talking about, back in the fall, about, you know, making, opportunities available for the kids that are not gonna be Visions kids, but are not interested in BOCES, that's kind of where Sparta fits in there. And so we just have such a wealth of, opportunity out in our, community that I wanted to make sure that, you know, we're hitting all of these areas where kids are interested in. And if you go to the next slide, that's what Sparta stands for. When we were trying to come up with a name for it, you know, we went really original and came up with Sparta. And then we have academies within that, so if you go to the next slide, please. So these are the 6 that we were focusing on for the first year, just because we were trying not to have, you know, too many ducks in too many different places. And so what we said to the kids, and to hit at one of your questions, Vicki, was the way that we advertised this was we put it out on the district social media. I put it out on my social media. I went into every single US history class, both college and Regents level US. We had a meeting, an informational meeting after school. And I also sent flyers home with all of the juniors. And I also went through and reminded them again, once we were gonna have the meeting. So every single junior that was in school those 2 days heard me talk about the program for next year. Okay. So, but we wanted to focus on these 6 because we felt like these were at the heart of where kids were interested. But we are going to be expanding that once we figure out what it is, you know, that we don't know about how to do the program.
And also, from a regional standpoint, these are where there are job available openings today and in the next, you know, 3 to 5 to 10 years. So we're also looking at what does the region need, and if students want to live in this region, we're trying to help them, shepherd them into industries that they might be able to find jobs soon.
And just show them that, you know, the opportunities are here available, because, you know, I hear a lot of times from kids that this place has nothing to offer and I want to get out of here. And I mean, they have nothing to compare it to, so they don't know what, you know, an amazing community this is. And so this is just another way to show them that the opportunity for a good, high-paying job is actually available in this area.
Can I ask just a quick question? Are manufacturing and trades areas where your plan is to have something that builds upon or beyond what would be available through BOCES, or is
So
that?
not every student, so this is only for seniors. So for example, not every student is interested in going to BOCES, but this also has opportunities outside of what BOCES has.
Okay.
So, like, for example, just one example, hooking them up with, you know, the lithium battery, you know, trade type of thing, or manufacturing for that. And then, you know, some students who might be interested in this might not have actually realized that they wanted to do that when they were going into their junior year, so it was kind of too late to get into a BOCES program. So this offers them, again, another, you know, lane to get involved in that career and find out more about it. Or they're also using this as to figure out, is this something I'm actually interested in, so that I figure this out before I go to college or before I sink everything I have into this and then decide this isn't for me.
Right, okay. And then my other question, if I could, where does technology and kind of like creative arts, like design and that sort of thing, fit into these categories?
So, we decided to just limit it for just this one semester to just these 6. So that, because I also didn't know how many kids I was gonna have applying. And so, we are gonna open up applications again in the fall for spring opportunities. And then we will start going into, like, because I know there's some kids interested in broadcasting. I know there's some kids interested in digital media design, those types of things. But when we first talked, we were like, okay, let's try to focus this so that we're not trying to do too many things at one time, because we'd rather have a solid foundation of this program, which will then also help it grow because the kids will see the awesome opportunities. And then we'll say, okay, so what are you interested in? Yep, we got that.
Okay. I ask because as somebody who's worked for a technology school for 13 years, a lot of times it's lumped under, business or engineering or a little bit of both, and I didn't know if you were looking for that.
Well,
But you
for
also said,
example, if somebody was interested in digital media and they wanted to work with some of our local business owners who do that, I could have done that for sure.
but you also said that these categories came from, if I'm remembering correctly, basically the most readily available jobs.
So we did two things. What is in our area for them to see that there are jobs literally as they graduate? But also, what are we seeing through the counseling center that bulk of kids are interested in, so that we could try to get, as many kids as we could into this program to begin with, and then expand outward.
Well, there's resource shortages in each one of these areas.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So Rachel, do you know about how many students are in the Sparta Academy starting in the fall?
I think we're at 12 right now.
Okay.
Which is, I think, a good number for a pilot program, because I want to be able to make sure that, because we're starting from scratch. We don't have the New Vision built-in job opportunities, internship programs. And so I'm reaching out, basically, not cold calling, but I'm finding new opportunities that weren't there before. And so I think if we had, 60 or 70 kids, I don't necessarily know if I could find as many quality opportunities. So that's why I wanted to kind of start a little bit smaller, so that I could build that network of available opportunities.
And they're all seniors.
They're going to be seniors, yep. Okay. All right, so what we wanted to offer for next year is based on what the partner wants of like the business or the agency, if they wanted to do an internship, job shadowing, and employment. And the difference between those three things is, the first one is you're basically in the same placement and you are helping them do whatever it is that they do. Job shadowing is more of a passive, and they're going to be in several different, for example, I have one student who's interested in medical emergency services and law enforcement. And so I have some opportunities set up through the sheriff's department, through Broome County. I have through the emergency services and the ambulance services. So they'll be like on a 2-week rotation type of a thing, where they're more shadowing what it is that they're doing. And then employment, for example, I have one student who's interested in construction, and I'm basically, I think, going to be able to get him right into a paying job. So that will be able to, that he hopefully would, if he wants to, continue, because he's not really sure if that's what he wants to do, but he felt like, I'd rather try to figure this out now than after I've graduated. Next slide, please. So these were some skills that the employers have identified as the things that they are looking for. So one of the things that we're gonna do with this program is we're gonna have like a 2.5-week boot camp at the beginning of the school year that works on all of these skills, but then tied to what they're doing. So like, for example, professionalism, dressing professional for one job is gonna be different than dressing appropriately for a construction position, that type of thing. So we wanna make sure that we're hitting on what it is that they're gonna need based on the employers of what they've identified that the students are going to need. Next slide, please. And then, so some of the benefits, you can read through those, but the thing is, a lot of when, I was talking with Jason and Mark about this to begin with, I said, we want to focus on kids who don't have a built-in network because of who their parents are, right? Or what their parents do. We also want to make sure that we are equitable in this. And so, like, for example, when I was in high school, if this had been an opportunity, I would not have been able to get myself there because we did not have transportation like that. So I wanted to make sure that not only are we connecting them with businesses and real life opportunities, but also providing them the resources that they need to be able to get there. So like, for example, if our construction person isn't able to purchase steel-toed boots, then I'm gonna make sure that they get those steel-toed boots so that they have what they need to be able to do and be successful in that placement. And then if you go to the next slide, please. And then the last one is basically what I was just talking about, but I really think that that's so important because, oftentimes we work with, try to get some programs or opportunities for the high flyers and then the kids who need that extra support, and we sometimes forget about the middle of the pack. And so I feel like this is really going to be a great way for the middle of the pack kids to have those same opportunities that maybe they hadn't had in the past or even thought about, because, you know, we didn't really roll this out to the kids until March. And so now, once they see it happening in the fall, then they will talk to their friends and things like that. And then hopefully in the spring, you'll have another cohort of them. And then the opportunities can be one semester or 2 semesters based on their school schedule and the classes that they would like to take and also are required to take. And then also what the opportunities are out there for the partnership that we have for that student.
That's great. Do you have, do you envision that? I'm thinking about that first slide, that some students might have been participating in, how early can you participate in these programs?
11th grade.
11th grade. So you might have a student who participates in something, learns that that's definitely what they want to do or definitely what they don't want to do. Will they have the opportunity to?
So Angela can speak to this, but, so tell me if I'm speaking wrong here, but if they're in BOCES, so this is going to mirror BOCES in the sense that they are half a day out in the work, in this opportunity, SPARTA opportunity, and half a day at school. So if they're already half a day at BOCES, they still have to be here to get their classes to be able to graduate.
But if they wanted to, say, transition
Just drop out of
to-
BOCES and go into our program. As long as they have the core classes that they need and we can meet it with their schedule, then yes, they would be able to do that.
And I can't remember those other opportunities, but if it's doable, any of those other kids who are doing the other experiences could potentially.
They could, New Visions and the YAP programs, there would have to be something, I think, would catastrophic happen before that they would drop out of those.
Right. But I'm thinking about some of the other things. So you could potentially have a student who.
Some of it.
From a CTE, right?
Yeah, like a lot of those things up there are like half-day type of things. So that would limit those kids. They would have to pick a lane.
Okay, so your restriction is the number of hours they have to be in.
Well, they have to have a certain number of credits to graduate and they have to take certain classes, and to be a full-time student, they have to have X amount of credits. So they wouldn't be able to double up. They'd have to pick.
And can you think of any other like populations of students who would not be eligible?
Well, they would have to be going into their senior year, but other than that,
Other
there's
than that,
no.
No, right. There is really no restriction. We just were saying that, New Visions is fairly competitive, that typically we don't see students. P-Tech is pretty much once you're in. CT might be the only one, but we're trying not to cannibalize CTE.
yeah. no,
But
I'm
it's
just thinking-
possible they might want it.
Yeah,
And the tricky thing with CTE is it's a 2-year commitment. This could be as little as 1 semester commitment that you could do
Right.
something in.
so CTE is 11th and 12th grade?
Yeah, and really, I would think the only seniors who really would not be able to do this are the kids who have fallen behind and have to get a certain number of credits to be able to be eligible to
Right.
graduate.
Right.
So I mean, other than that, it's
There's
not
no
income
flexibility.
based, it's not anything, so.
Could you see this being offered to even juniors or other groups at some point, maybe, or no?
It kind of depends on their schedule, because junior year is the hardest year academically.
Right.
And they have a lot of core classes that they have to take. And if you take into consideration the travel time, and then we have to also make it worth the partners' time as well. And so having kids over there for half an hour or 40 minutes is probably not going to be worth it for them anyway. And so I am working on some other opportunities, like for example, my entrepreneurship class, I'm gonna try to have every single kid have a job shadow day. So we have lots of different opportunities, but I would think that they need a chunk of time, and juniors typically don't have a chunk of time.
And typically, because of the graduation requirements and needing only 3 years of math and science to graduate from high school, that if a student really is more interested in this kind of pathway, they don't have to take those 2 courses their senior year. So it really, and a lot of the 12th grade classes are semester classes anyway, so it just works out better
Usually frees
scheduling
up.
wise, yeah.
And also you have age requirements in a lot of those places. And I mean, a lot of kids, when they start off their junior year, they're only 15, or they've just turned 16. So Like the one for construction, I have to wait until second semester because he doesn't turn 18 until November. So there are also age, even with HIPAA and, medical and things like that. So that's the other component of that.
And your boot camp is during that half a day?
So I have a class period on my schedule just called Sparta, and so they're in that class. And so we just do that boot camp at the beginning of the semester. And then I also I'm checking in, I'm, doing observations, I'm making sure that everything is okay on their end, but also everything is okay on the partnership end, and then also seeking out additional opportunities. Because we want the kids to understand they're front facing, and so, they are the face of the district in that place of employment, and we want to make sure that they feel prepared to be that face of the district.
One of the things, just anecdotally, one of the things we learned in our career fair is the number of businesses that are offering to pay for kids' college. And so by hooking them up in 12th grade and a business saying, we really want you to stay on, can we pay for your education, is such a huge benefit. So, we think there's gonna be some indirect benefits as a result of these partnerships.
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry, Greg.
So some of this is about exposure, right? Getting exposed to certain, career paths and do you anticipate kids switching, what they choose based on their experience or not?
It could. I mean, I've seen kids that have gone through, like Jared Woodward is a perfect example. He went to New Visions for engineering and hated every single day of it, and he now works for a state senator because politics is his, jam in life. So I tell the kids that the only thing I knew when I went to college is I did not want to be a teacher, and now I have the best thing I've ever done in my whole life. So if they change, that might be a good thing, and I'd rather have them figure out in a semester during their senior year, that is not what I thought it was.
Right. No,
Yeah.
that's why I'm asking the
Yep.
question, because that can happen in college.
Yes, and it's a lot cheaper to do it your
And then
senior year of high school.
there's some money involved.
Exactly. Exactly.
Better for it to happen now.
So we had all talked about, because again, we want to know, how do we know if it's successful? And it's difficult to project in year 5. But we felt like this was for year 1. Do we have partnerships? Do we have students that want to participate? And then did they like it? Was it successful? And then once we figure that, then how do we make this model sustainable and how do we grow it? And again, we didn't anticipate year 1 having 100 students. And I don't think we could have handled 100 students, quite honestly. But our goal is not to just limit it to a very small number. If that means we have to continue to grow that, put more resources towards that because it's working and it's successful, then that's something we'll have to identify. But it needs to work first before you can then grow it and build it. And that's really this year, is to grow it and build it. And guidance is on board, business department's on board. Obviously, Rachel's taken a new role. And then obviously Mark understands the importance. So we're excited, but it needs to work. So I think that's kind of where we're holding our breath a little bit to say, it's got to work before we can come back and say, it's great.
We put a lot of thought into it, but we still don't know what we don't
Right.
know. at this
Yeah,
point.
sure. One thing that would be, so I love that you're talking about measuring, because like we just had a conversation about where are students placed, and then where are they 5 years after they're
Yeah.
placed? And we don't have a good way of measuring that. So I like that we're establishing a connection with local, work opportunities and tracking that. I think it would be maybe helpful to think, this is a later down the road conversation, but like I think about, you talked about the middle of the road. And the middle of the road is where, when things get tough, that's a lot of times where you feel the most impact. So I think about, how do you sustain this in terms of success and buy-in from local businesses, but also funding? Because, this is not an area that you want to see get cut, but it's likely to be that area where, extreme need, usually we can't cut. And, where there are a lot more resources and privilege and opportunities, things don't get cut. But that would be a great conversation, for even the board to be thinking about, to ensure that this is successful through difficult years.
Yeah. And that's sustainable, that's the key word, right? To your
Yeah.
point, everything you just said. We've got to be able to sustain it if it's successful, because we don't want to be in that mode.
Yeah.
One extra thing I wanted to add is I also was able to obtain some opportunities for our life skills kids to go to Chow in the Greater Good Grocery. And then they're also gonna be working with Progressive Dental next year. And then I also have 4 or 5 other lined up so that they can get out into the community and be working on those as well, so.
Terrific. So first start, obviously, we'll come back and we'll give you some information as we get going, and then we'll probably do a follow-up at some point next year, obviously, probably more in the winter or spring, but that's where we are. We're excited, and again, now we just have to put it in motion.
Exciting. Thank you.
Yeah.
It is,
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, so maybe like a report after their first
Yeah.
semester. huh?
Yeah.
With it.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
We've been talking about this for a while, so we're glad to see it
Yes, you and me both.
kicking off, so thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I'd like to welcome Vanessa DeBrava. Vanessa's going to give her annual report on the state of our special education department. Hold on. Apparently this 97-degree angle. I'm struggling with this.
You want me to click it from here?
No. No, I just have to be able to see what I'm putting, so I apologize for that. You tell me, Vanessa, I'll forward your slides.
Okay, you go on to the next one. So I tried to give you a lot of information and a lot of links to different pieces of information within this presentation. So as usual, we make all of our decisions related to special education based on these 3 components. The futures audit having been done now a year or 2 before me, so probably about 9 years ago. And is it 16?
16, yep.
Yeah, so right around when I was coming on board, and then the blueprint for special education gives us a nice roadmap of those areas of focus, as well as the district strategic plan. So I just gave links to all of those on there. You can go on to the next. So then just to give you some areas of progress related to those 3 areas of focus. The first being response to intervention. So we've talked a lot about that. There's many tiers to that, starting with our data teams, where we meet 3 times a year. Just most recently looking at, moving forward to the next year. So 3 times a year, we have our universal screeners for MAP and ELA. And we look at that information as well as any curriculum-based measures, because that's just one snapshot of a bigger picture. And obviously the students or the teachers know their students best beyond just that one piece of data. So we use all of those components in order to make decisions. We talk about tier 1 instruction in the classroom, which is best practice. It should reach we are always aiming for at least 85% of the class. And then from there, we look at, okay, within the classroom, are there some skill deficits that the teachers can support, or some of those other opportunities like the YAP students we were just speaking of, those BU partnerships as well, other resources within the building that can help to progress monitor areas of skill deficit at the tier 2 level. And also looking at, the social, emotional, and behavioral components too. So then I also did a hyperlink there for the RTI presentation, just for your knowledge so that you're aware. Every year, Allison Quick, who is the RTI facilitator at both elementary buildings, which has been awesome because then we have consistency across both buildings. We update that presentation every year. This year, she even created videos to help the teachers with the whole process. So we have those with little 2-minute snippets, and they're at the end of the RTI presentation, if anybody wants to see those as well. So when you get to the point where, tier 1, tier 2 instruction isn't working, that's where then we look to an RTI referral. And that would look to have the committee come together and see if that student might be eligible for a tier 3 intervention with our interventionists, and they make that their priority, but as well as some of those other, the YAP students, the BU interns, as a second layer if our interventionists have time, they also support the classroom teachers with either push in or pull out tier 2 as well. The priority is always for them to do tier 3 though. So when we look at this, it gives you the breakdown of tier 2 and tier 3, the amount of time with the expectations there. And then we have this data on another slide, so we can skip over to the next one. This is new information that Allison and I put together that we thought was really essential, because we talked a lot about how at the primary level, that's where we have more of that focus of our interventions, which makes sense, because a lot of times we figured out either how to close the gaps by intermediate, or we have determined that that student has a disability by that time. So you can see that at both buildings, really the majority of our interventions have focused at the primary level. And at the top, you can see, again, I said about 85% of your students should be reached through tier 1 instruction. And you can see there that we're at 15% at Homer Brink, and then a little bit higher, but still not, anything significant after coming off of COVID with the 20%. So we're still staying in line with the tier of interventions. And here's that information from 2 slides ago, and this just gives you a whole trend line. So that's why I was thinking I probably should take that out for next year. But because this gives you a bigger picture, it didn't feel like we had so many less meetings, but we did. So that is a positive. Because if you look at Homer Brink on top, you can see we met on 181 students, and we had 271 meetings last year. Yeah, that's a lot. I can see from your face. So that was really huge in terms of an increase. But you could see that, we came back full days. Everybody had a lot of concerns. So, but then this year, it felt like a ton of meetings, but then when we counted them, we cut it down by 1/3. So we had 1/3 less students that we met on at Homer Brink, and then we had about 1/5 less students that we met on at Maine Memorial. So we're certainly getting back on track from where we were before. So, and then when you look over here at the total number of new referrals, again, we're getting more back on track. We had 65, which was the highest point last year. We're at 59 for this year. We still want to continue to decrease those numbers. And you'll see that our percentage of students that were found eligible reduced a little bit. And some of that was we had a little bit more uptick of some parent referrals, just, more heightened concerns. My kid's been in interventions. Is this a need? So we evaluated, but, not everybody was eligible. But we're still looking at those numbers coming down.
So just, if I can pause for 1 second, the importance of this number is if you go back to the year where it was 59, this correlates between referrals and actually having a disability.
Mhm.
So when you have 59% being classified, that means the other 41% didn't have a disability even though they were referred. So you want that referral rate to be as high as possible because it tells you that you're referring the right students for CSE.
Mhm.
So that number, while there's a little dip, it still is at a much higher level because we've put resources and we focused on that. So I just wanted to, that is a significant statistic.
I was curious about the 18-19, my eyesight is terrible, but 18-19, is there a little bit of a spike? And do you know what that's?
We had a
Or
There was a
referrals?
We had overall 50 referrals, so we went from 43 to 50 and 42 being eligible. So our eligibility rate was still
Sorry, I
significantly
was
high.
just looking at the,
But yeah, no, we went
the
up,
graph.
you're right, we went from 43 to 50 and then back down to 40. Yep, so we're all set with that one.
Vicky, are you good?
yeah, it's just interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so-
wouldn't have expected it, I guess, because I was thinking,
Yeah, that was before.
right, it was
Yeah.
pre-pandemic, so.
Then looking at our just progress with alignment of student supports, just to highlight, the accelerated reading program, that's done a lot in terms of improving our literacy instruction tier 1 overall. So that's been outstanding at the elementary level. And then as well as all the work that we've done regarding social emotional supports and moving forward with that as part of the strategic plan. So there's a lot of great instructional pieces there that we're gonna extend upward as well. Okay, and then also looking at, so again, related to literacy, at the primary level, the Blevins phonics and Heggerty phonemic awareness.
When did that switch? Did you make that switch last year?
It started this year, in the
This year,
fall. Yep.
this year in the fall, yeah, the whole phonemic piece that's coming back
Yeah.
now, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just very interested, I mean, that's a big change.
Yeah.
The Lucy Calkins,
Mm.
yeah.
There's
That's been a
other
big shift.
districts that have in recent years also done that.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
everybody's switching.
Yeah, most
Yeah.
everybody, yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, so that's been great, and we've had a lot of success with that. And then also at the middle school level, the rewards program has done a great job of filling in some of those basic phonics skills that students have missed as they progressed through. So that's been wonderful as well. And we've also partnered, like I said, a lot with BOCES in terms of, looking at, they've done a lot of action research and in-house observations and looking at different diagnostic tools to help us be more efficient with assessment so then we can get to the instruction and having those impacts in the classroom.
What is action research? What does that mean?
So Kristen Bailey came in, just to give you a specific example, and she asked for a few students from each grade level, and she came in and she administered the DIBELS 8 to look at the cross-section of how they were performing in various areas across literacy, and then that helped to isolate the skill deficits and help the teachers to then shift their instructional practice. Any questions there? Yep, I think we're good. Okay, so then moving forward, so there's a lot of exciting changes coming with RTI. So, again, a lot of this was driven by the teachers in terms of for ELA, there's a link to then the assessment chart. We're shifting away from STAR at the primary level. They want to use the DIBELS 8 as a universal screener. So we're going to invest in training this summer. They're going to have additional training regarding the Blevins phonics instruction. They've been using it this year, but then they're going to have more exposure to how to use the interactive online tools that they have access to as well, because there's a lot. And they really haven't, they've been utilizing it, but they haven't really gotten to go that deep with it. So they'll have more instruction there. As well as with math, our interventionists have been instrumental in helping us to really refine how we administer our universal screener for STAR, and then how that will shift to help teachers to identify skill deficits with the support of the interventionists as well. And we're also looking to do more push-in. We've been doing it at the kindergarten level at both buildings with a specified interventionist for ELA and math. And we want to do that push-in model all the way through mid-first, and then look to refer for a tier 3 intervention at that point in time if necessary, because we really feel that push into the classroom of the interventionist will hopefully reduce some of these even primary numbers that we have.
Do the interventionists work with the GAP students and the volunteers? Who organizes that piece?
The volunteers that come into the rooms?
They're all under the heading of interventionists. So
So if it happens to be that there's a certain pocket of students that are struggling, a lot of times myself or Allison will talk to the building principals and Julie and saying, when they're identifying where a BU student's gonna go, where a YAP student's gonna go. Maybe if we have a volunteer coming in that has some background in education. So we look at all those variables to see how can we shift people to then put them in the right spots.
and then once they're shifted, who's responsible for training them, for giving them the materials they need to work with these students?
It depends on what the skill area is. So if it happens to be literacy based, it might be the classroom teacher, it might be the literacy specialist that helps to develop some of those tools, or it could be a math interventionist that provides them with that as well.
And my other question was, the meetings, I just looking at the numbers of students, how many people are in those meetings? And I'm sure they're being pulled from what they normally do. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, we've adjusted that a little bit. We used to have like, when I first came on, like a whole team, and that would take people out of the classroom regardless of what was going on. But then with sub shortages and COVID and everything else, it has shifted. So we always have Allison there as the facilitator. Generally, the building psychologist is there as well. If the student is having any kind of social, emotional, behavioral need, one of the, like a social worker, a school counselor that works with them is there. And then whatever interventionist is working with that student or may be called to work with that student. So even if it ends up that they don't qualify necessarily for a tier 3 intervention, we might have whatever literacy or math interventionist is supporting that grade level there to help with suggestions for the classroom teacher.
And then, but what are they being taken away from? I mean, that's where I'm going with this.
Yeah, they're being taken away from either intervention time, supporting students or being in the classroom with students.
Yeah, that's it. And each meeting is 40 minutes, 45 minutes. That's a significant amount. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just,
On average, 30 minutes we
Yeah.
try to keep them to, but
Yeah.
sometimes as much
Yeah.
as 45, yes. Yeah, so we really tried, because before we had a broader range of people on the team, so we have tried to hone it in to those that can really help with those skill deficits at that specific grade level. And if it's really just, if the teacher says it's just ELA, then there's just somebody specific for ELA. We don't pull the math folks out for that or anybody else. Okay, and then also we have, just continuing to work with all of our folks. Like I said, we're expanding our social emotional supports and also looking at the secondary level to middle school. We're going to start brainstorming ideas as well as looking at how that social worker grant with BU, how that might be able to help us with some of our suspensions related to vaping, community partnerships with the Prevention Coalition and tobacco-free room Tioga. And then for here, I just also, so then moving forward, I know there's been a lot of conversation too regarding some of our students, because we know within the region, OCs is tapped out. They're maxed out, and a lot of, we're not the only ones in terms of those districts. We're all impacted, especially with the little ones, especially primary. So I just put a link there to the not the presentation, but just the memo that I shared with you folks regarding all the students at all the grade levels that had needs throughout the year, and the struggles we've had with placements for them. So that was just there as a reference. So these are some of the things we've been looking at. So for special programming in district, we've looked at that a number of times. And, I know we could find the people and the support staff and all those other factors, but really space is the biggest variable, because to truly effectively develop either an 811 Crossroads, which is more social emotional behavioral, or an Oak Tree based program, which is for students with autism, to have a district-based program of that nature, you really need to have that 811 classroom space, and then you also need to have a space for those students to de-escalate when they're having a bad day. So, there's really no areas where we have like a space and a half available. So we have talked regionally, like I said, everybody's impacted by it. We hosted a meeting here actually on May 22nd to talk about it. We didn't have any
Vanessa, do you know what
groundbreaking.
other districts are doing regarding this issue?
Yeah, so we were all having similar conversations about how can we share resources. A lot of people are in the same boat with space issues. So unfortunately, like when we shared, I have space here, like we have spaces in our special classes at the middle school and high school level, but not the elementary level. And a lot of other districts are in that same boat as well. So that's where we started to maybe think outside the box in terms of further enhancing the trainings and opportunities for those folks that we have in-house. So BOCES is offering a function-based thinking training that I've shared with all of our special ed teachers at the primary level, which would help them to have a different frame for looking at some of the behaviors that we see in the classroom.
Just help me understand what that is, function-based training.
So in a bigger picture of it, like in special education, our psychologists work with teams to create functional behavior assessments and then behavior intervention plans. So really it's looking at the behavior that you're seeing, what's really the root cause of this behavior? Is it that the students coming, something as basic as they're coming in hungry, or they're not, or they need a specific check-in with a trusted adult in the morning? Is there, what's getting in the way, or what's happening as an antecedent perhaps to that behavior, that then we could look to hopefully put some supports in place to reduce the likelihood of that behavior occurring.
Okay. And so BOCES is leading that training?
Yeah, so they're it's a watered down version, how they explained it to me, of a functional behavior assessment. So it's for gen ed, special ed teachers, anybody that wants to take it, but just to look at a behavior through a different lens. So, and I know many of our teachers are beyond just thinking that behaviors are just the kids being naughty in that moment, but really to then focus in and key in on certain things through your observational practice to then identify and track that data.
That is really helpful to me, because every year when you give these presentations, it's always concerning, I guess, when I see the behavior stuff, because I don't, and I know I ask you this every year, like what goes on behind the scenes to not just categorize it as a behavior, right, and a discipline problem, but more, it's more complex than that. So I really appreciate that explanation.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one piece. Another thing that I'm really excited about is we've been looking for opportunities to access a board-certified behavior analyst. So that would be somebody that would have this credential that would then, similar to, it's even like somebody can have this certification but not be a psychologist, but none of our psychologists have this certification, but their practice is in line with how they would function in terms of having that lens of a function-based thinker in terms of coming into a classroom, having that specialized lens to really establish why is a student behaving the way they are, to train our teachers, to train our therapists, to work with them, as well as our support staff. So to have then create plans for intervention for these students, to then help them to come in as another lens, to co-observe with them and analyze the behavior, track the data, progress monitor, all of those pieces that our psychologists are phenomenal with. We have one in a building. So for them.
And is that something you're gonna be asking the teachers to do in
So
addition?
what we're looking to do is there's a group called ADHD and Autism Psychological Associates and Advocacy Group. And it's headed by Dr. Andy Lopez Williams. And their group has partnered with other districts, namely through the DCMO BOCES area. They're in like Syracuse and Utica, and they're looking to branch out into Binghamton. And so they would come into our schools and they would provide that professional development for our teachers and our support staff. They would come into the classroom, they would provide observations, they would help us to really refine those plans. Because like I said, our psychologists can go in, they can get the background data, they can observe, they can create the plans. But then what I'm seeing that we don't continue is they check in every couple of weeks or so, but they're not there on a regular basis to then really make sure that things are handled and monitored with fidelity. And that's really what we want to ensure.
Now, when you're talking about this, you're talking about this as an alternative to these BOCES placements that are filling up. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm seeing it as,
So-
and not even, because sometimes when a student needs that placement, they need that type of placement. And so we need to figure out interim plans. I'm just even seeing this as a way of like, we're starting the year off, things are going well, and then all of a sudden things start to go off track. And what are some other tools we could have in our toolkit to help us to support that student and hopefully maintain them in their current setting? And if that's not successful, then we need to be looking at another route. But what other things could we do in order to support students before we say, no, this isn't right?
I see a huge need for that. Can you tell me the name of that organization again?
It's ADHD and Autism Psychology Associates and Advocacy.
So this is a position you would hire
It would be a contract. So it would be a co-star
Oh, I
that we
see.
would
Okay.
cross-contract with through
Okay.
BOCES. Yep. Yeah, so we found out that we could do the cross contract from our BOCES to their BOCES. I talked to Dr. Lopez. He gave me brief overview of what options they had available to support students. They have even additional layers. They have a preschool program that we could tap into, you know, and that's, Dana and I have been talking about growing our supports at the preschool level. That's not something we're looking at for next year, but in the bigger picture, that might be something that we want to look into to further ensure that our students have that support even before they come into our school age programming. So that could be an option as well, but it looks like a really exciting opportunity. I know our psychologist, Dr. Megan Parasu at Homer Brink, she mentioned to me the other day that when she was getting her doctorate, Dr. Lopez was actually partnered with the person that she did her thesis with. So she's familiar with his work and said he's outstanding.
So if other districts already,
BOCES in the.
gone to use this service, this
Not
contract?
Not in this area. We did
Okay.
talk about it at our regional group. I don't know of any other districts that have followed through on it yet.
Right, I was just wondering if there was another district and how the success, what the success was like for them.
I know, the closest I know right now is Norwich,
Okay.
and they've had a great partnership so far.
Mhm.
Yeah, but not anybody that I'm aware of.
Yeah, okay.
Do districts buy a spot, a seat in a classroom, holding on to it in case it's needed later on, like some of these BOCES programs?
No, you know what, years ago, when I first started, we used to always have like, oh, we need 10, when, you know, I was in another district and we would say, oh, well, we need 10, but we'll purchase 13.
That's what I remember, yeah.
Those days are long gone. Yeah, because it seems like they're
Well,
just,
because they fill those seats with other
Yes.
school districts. They don't
Yeah.
necessarily
Yeah.
hold on to them. And then
no.
we've bought 13 and there aren't necessarily 13 available. You know what I mean?
Oh, they don't hold it.
Well,
No.
they can't, because those
Yeah.
other school districts need them, so we found it to not be a smart investment to buy them,
Because you don't have them.
we don't
Right.
necessarily
Okay.
have them.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah,
There used to be wiggle room in that most of the programs, within a month or so, you could get a student in there, you know, and now it doesn't happen.
yeah, that's my concern, just as a classroom teacher, just knowing, just running a classroom and what that entails. And then when you have a child that needs such an additional time and support, you know, just the ability to be successful with that seems very difficult, a very difficult challenge.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd say the middle school as well, but both elementary buildings have experienced that exact. And,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a challenge. I mean, we all know it's a tremendous challenge. So,
Yep, and so, another exciting thing that we have coming is related to the Pearson's Digital Assessment Library. And so that is basically like all the cognitive assessments, the achievement assessments that our special ed teachers, as well as our speech therapists administer, we can now do electronically and it's scored automatically. It's a huge time saver. Brittany Oakes, our psychologist at the high school, she used it at Binghamton and they had great success with it. So we started to learn more about it this year. I brought in all the providers to hear more about it. And so then we're having our launch party virtually on June 22nd, where everybody will hear about it. We purchased with our additional art money through IDEA, we purchased 50 iPads for this purpose for administering these assessments. So our speech therapists or psychologists, and then in each of the buildings, I think we'll have 3 or 4 sets. So because you need 2, one for the administrator and then one for the student when you administer the assessments. And that'll be wonderful. And then I just noted about within the district, you know, I had that last year, but, you know, coming into next year, we'll have 11 new special ed teachers in the last 3 years. So that's huge in terms of the turnover that we've had with retirements and so forth, and as well as some growing needs that we've had with having additional staffing at the high school this year, and then having an additional member of the team come back in at the middle school for next year as well.
Anybody have any questions?
My only other question that I submitted was the EK, if you can talk to that about.
Oh, yeah, I have that up there as a part of it, yeah. So, for kindergarten, what we've always wrestled with was early kindergarten, and that early kindergarten is supposed to be that extra developmental year. So we're moving away again from providing special, not to say that we're not going to provide any special education services, but we're focusing more of our special education services at the kindergarten level. So we've only, at all the other grade levels, 1st through 5th, we provide 2 hours of integrated co-teaching per day. So an hour focused on ELA, an hour focused on math. We're going to do that at the kindergarten level next year as well. So we'll have our special education teacher split either in one classroom or across 2 classrooms. And then for EK, if a student with an IEP has those needs, then we'll provide resource room as an option for them. They can access so pull out or push in, whichever way. In resource room, there's a lot of flexibility. So you can have a blend of gen ed and special ed. You just want to keep it no more than 5 students. And so we feel like that would help with some of those basic skills. We can provide some indirect support if there's needs for supporting how the aide is managing things as well, if there happens to be an aide associated with that student, and then related services too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm going to switch to an update on our strategic plan, which will include the data from the survey that we put out regarding time. So originally, I was going to focus only on time, but I wanted to also just include very briefly what other work we're doing in the other focus areas. So the strategic plan has identified 4 focus areas. I'll start with area 4, which was time. And then obviously we'll talk about focus areas 1, 2, and 3. So this is the timeline that we had put together, what we wanted to accomplish. I wanted to get that data and we've been obviously talking about this since the winter, since November. And then I wanted to come to you tonight with that data. And then, my questions at the end will be next steps. So the survey structure, the duration was a simple survey. Obviously I shared it with you ahead of time. It ran from the 26th to the 7th. We had 1,628 responses, and the questions focused on some simple demographics, but also then whether or not you support the changes that we had initially presented. Again, I'll go through the demographics. What was nice about this first demographic is it's largely or mostly, I guess you could say, parents. And that was really who we were hoping to tap into. Obviously, we tapped into faculty and staff too, but it was a nice showing from our parents. And then the breakout of where they were. What's significant about these breakouts is that it echoes or mirrors the percentages of the enrollments in our buildings. So not one building was overrepresented. The ratios of parents to enrollment was actually pretty close to what it actually is. So again, it's not skewed because one building had more participants than another, or parents from another building had more. And again, just the location. So a nice representation of who took the survey. And then with staff, same thing. If you look at our staffing levels, enrollment levels correspond again. Not one particular building over another had more. It all aligned. So for whatever statistical significance that is, at least it correlates with our percentages by population. So the question we asked, and we had said this was the simple question: would you support the change? The change was the one option where the elementary school would start at approximately 7:45, and the high school would start about an hour and 15 later, or 9. So So the question, as you can see there, about 2/3 say no, they wouldn't support that. Another a quarter say they would, and then there's that percentage that is undecided. So again, from the standpoint of yes, no, or undecided, that's how people responded. We then took the anecdotal, which I shared with you, and we boiled it down. And this is taken from them, so I didn't change words, but I tried to lump under where most of them are coming from. And again, you've seen this information. Not a surprise. We said this when we looked at research, when we looked at other examples, these were gonna be the areas that people were concerned with. So nothing up there, quite honestly, is a surprise. For those that support, again, I would say probably not a surprise there either, even though there was fewer people that responded in support, that corresponds with what we've heard. And that first one, or the second bullet, I'm sorry, the fourth bullet, has been proven. What that means is the research out there that has been done has proven that later starting times from a standpoint of adolescent development, brain development, that there's studies that suggest that. That's what they're saying when they need proven. I just didn't include all that because it was lengthy. I just wanted to be clear on what that is. So the next steps, and again, based on our conversation where we are, we wanted to ask that question, are we gonna move forward or not? And then, to me, I think for us, we need to let the community know what we're doing. Is it a no? Is it a yes? Is it a we're exploring further? But we need to put something out to the community before the end of the school year that says, here's what we're doing. Because I think they're asking for it.
The reason being, part of our discussion is people have come to board members asking, is this starting in the fall? Like thinking, I might have to look into childcare and so forth, so. Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to pause there and just kind of see where people are feeling right now.
Yeah, well, I looked at the data and I thought it'd be like 80% no. I was a little shocked there, but 65 is still a resounding gavel in my mind. That's every 2.5 people, you get one on the other side. And 1,700 people, that's pretty good turnout, I don't know,
Great.
the budget vote, we have probably somewhere around, so from a sample, I think it's pretty darn good. And we were black and white, so from my standpoint, I think we're done. Don't throw any more resources at it, we've done enough, and that's my 2 cents.
I had honestly thought, I didn't think we were gonna do this step. Because I had thought we had discussed and kind of
Which step? The survey?
this survey, yeah.
Oh, because, so at our last board meeting, it was discussion that the survey that went out was like all just information that we already knew. And the point for this survey is we just really wanted to know community,
True yes or no?
a true yes or no.
Yeah, I just thought, when we had presented the facts, that it wasn't a feasible thing. So I didn't think we were, so
Thought we
what
were
I'm saying
done.
is, I thought we were.
Done with it, right.
So this
Right.
is great, but I thought we had already concluded.
No more. Yeah.
Right,
Okay, yeah.
but thank you for doing that.
Yeah, and we also want to be clear to the community.
Yeah, no, I agree with the communication,
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
Are we going around?
I mean,
Oh, are we doing?
it's whatever you think, like Jason said, we are at this next step where what are we gonna,
Well, we were certainly never looking at it for next year.
oh yeah, we
That
know.
was never, so I don't think anybody needs to be looking for childcare or,
I thought we had reached kind of the resolution of it wasn't feasible, we weren't moving forward, but we were, and you had already taken steps to look at, how can we
The day.
improve the
Yeah.
day and change up the scheduling to really maximize, kid opportunities for students to engage in different,
Yeah, well, we got the report of like the start times, the end times, how it affects OCs, how it affects transportation, how it affects athletics.
Yeah.
And then, right now, there's never been a moment where the board has said, we do not want to go further exploring it. That's never happened. So that's where we are today.
I was in a
That's
different
okay.
vein, I guess, that's okay, I thought we were there a couple meetings ago, but
Yeah.
okay, so do you want us to go
We're
over?
here, we're here now where we, as a board, need to just really, do we want to put the time in and explore it more? Do we want to say, yes, let's do it? Or do we want to say, this is not the time and we're concluding this?
I want to say this is not the time, and I appreciate that we are exploring already scheduling
Right,
options.
right.
You want to go around?
Agreed, I agree.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was confusion over the first survey,
Yeah.
what we're trying to ask the community. So I think
Yeah,
that's,
absolutely.
we talked about in the meeting for a while, about we should do a second survey and really get a yes or no answer.
Yeah.
I think that's the only, so, no, I don't think that if the community doesn't support it, I don't think we should do it.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Well, I think that what Julie is talking about doing makes a lot, is a good step. Take a look and see what we can do without making such a drastic change. Do I want to say that, I would like to take that step, evaluate the impact of that step. Am I saying, am I kicking the can down the road? I guess that's what you could say I'm doing. But I think that is.
The elementary level, this may, maybe if there's a way to have them do more in the mornings, then, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Where, when they're more energetic and alert, right, is there a certain curriculum they should be? I think that's what you were talking about.
Well, and I think, Lynn, what you're talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think administration's already looking at for elementary level, how to utilize time a little bit more
Right.
to give some,
Yeah.
make it more advantage for faculty and staff and students and.
And we're not done, and this
Right.
was going to parallel that, so this, if we're not gonna move forward with the switching of the changes, that other work will continue, but just won't be under the guise of, changing starting.
Start times, right, it's just utilizing the time of the day.
Yeah.
Right.
But, I think we looked at our transportation, we looked at the cost of what that would look like. We looked at scheduling, what that's gonna look like for our older students, for after-school activities and events. We got community feedback. I think we did our diligence on looking at this, so I think it is time to just go ahead and communicate as all board members seem to be in agreement that, we looked into this, we researched it, and this is what we've concluded. Not to move forward at this time.
I'll draft a statement, have you all look at it, so that we can put something out to the community.
Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds good. Okay. And thank you, everybody that's put the time in. I know, a lot of administrators worked.
But I
Well,
look forward, to hear about the work that you're doing to
Yep.
address the situation.
Yep, and it's all part of strategic plan and PLC, and so, yeah, it's all, that's why that isn't going away.
Right.
So, okay. Well, the other three areas, and again, this is just to give you an idea, what we've done is we broke out the work that had come from these committees, and we said, as a leadership team, in each leadership team, we have 3 leadership teams. And then that leadership team is inviting people from the Guiding Coalition and other faculty and staff to be part of a bigger team. And then I asked them to prioritize the work. So what work do we think is the most important under each focus area? And then give a timeline of when we expect it to be completed. So that's what you saw, that's what you have here. We don't have anything to report on, but this is what we're gonna work on first, second, third, and then this is when we expect to have it done. So that's student support focus area 1, and again, that's work that Vanessa highlighted quite a bit of that in her annual report. But again, that's a team. Student experience, that also is a team. These were the areas they triaged and said, let's start here and then here and then here. You'll see some dates and timelines. Again, everyone's inviting other people to be part of it. But we didn't want to put that out here because we haven't invited everybody yet. So I thought it would be kind of strange to put someone's name up there, even though I haven't been asked.
And on this slide, I just had a
Yeah,
quick question
yeah.
about your last bullet. What would the goal be to incorporate the additional opportunities? To look at it in October, would that be the following academic year?
Yeah, I think that was our consensus.
Okay. All right.
So let me back up, just so student support, Vanessa is the chair. So she will be the one with her team. Jeff is the chair of student experience, focus area 2. And then Julie is the chair of focus area 3, academic excellence. And so this is a large project. And so that's why it's been broken up. But the goal is, and again, each committee is going to have different people. We did say, though, we have a guiding coalition of people that volunteer to be part of our strategic planning. We want to pick from that pool because we want everyone to be, on the same page. So, however, it won't necessarily just be from that group. It could be other people. But it's going to end up being, they're going to be teams. So here's the plan. I'll come back to you in October with the first check-in, and then we'll have a normal cadence where quarterly you'll get updates. It'll be myself. I'll do the time, so my responsibility will be the time and the use of schedules, master schedules and time schedules. Vanessa will do her quarterly report, Jeff will have his, and Julie. So we will give those quarterly updates at those meetings. And then obviously we'll reconvene in the spring for the whole team again, and we'll just keep this refining, amending process as we go through. So that's the goal. And then obviously we'll tie it into budget season if there's resources requested. But it'll be a nice rhythm once we get everything going. But right now, the first check-in after tonight is going to be October, and that gives us 3 months to get working. So that makes sense.
Jeff, I noticed your committee is doing a survey. Have you decided what survey tool you're going to use?
Taylor from BOCES in charge of that.
Okay.
It's not a thought exchange, Vicki. We've taken thought exchange
Thank
off the
you.
list. So,
It's a useful tool for what it is, but I'm glad you're not using it.
no thought exchange.
So the time component you're looking at, is that something that will be up and running, do you think, in September? Or you're not looking at making your time piece not until the end of next year?
These groups have already started meeting.
Yeah.
So the problem with the summer is we've got people that don't work during the summer. So to get everyone, who's available, it's a little bit of a struggle. But the goal is to get it up and running so that when we do our first report in October, that we've got progress to report on. It's not gonna be, hey, we just started. It's gonna be,
Gotcha.
here's what we're doing. So everybody knows we're doing stuff now.
So to answer that question specifically, our student support team at the middle school has already met with that bullet on the 6th grade. And one of the first things we're gonna do the first 2 days of school and then concentrating on is how to be a successful middle school student for that transition. We kind of do that now, but very cursory in the first 2 days and then just get moving into the year. So that's kind of how we're already moving on it.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so we think those will be nice updates, and it puts us on the clock, like, we've got to keep moving because there's report dates coming, so it's kind of that positive pressure. So, thanks, Rick. So that's where we are as of today with the strategic plan. Okay. And the last item I have under my report is just to give you a capital project update. So I believe I had updated you that after the video surveillance through the pipe, they did find a problem, but the problem was not catastrophic and it is not underneath the stadium. So if a problem did happen, we could go in and fix it. We felt pretty quickly. Probably not have to shut down school, even though that was part of our initial reaction and fear. And so we concluded that because it's not an emergency, if we treated it like an emergency, we asked you to treat it like an emergency, very good chance we would not receive state aid. And the state aid on that work was significant. So our thought right now is what we had presented to you. We hope that it gets approved by August. We'll cap the pipe, we'll put in the brand new sanitation line, we'll trench it in the parking lot. We won't redo the whole parking lot, but we'll get the sanitation line done so it's working. And then we'll come back next year and have to pave that, do the whole parking lot. Now, if things change and approval comes in earlier than we anticipated and our contractor says they can do it, that could all change. But right now, for tonight, we're not gonna ask you for an emergency project. And still hope that that work can get done.
Actually, I think we're 2 weeks ahead of the schedule that was before the SE review, so hopefully we're late July to get the approval. That would put us in good shape.
So that's where we are. We think that's a good thing. So we didn't have to ask you to go down that road. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Moving on to Board of Education reports and updates. First thing, just real quick, is the live streaming of meetings. It's just to make a decision. Do we want to continue live streaming our meetings or not? Other districts are not. I know we've only been having 1 to 4 people on. How many do we have tonight? Oh, really? So tonight's a little bit higher.
But it's 3 to 4, 5, it varies, it goes up and down.
Okay, so, it's just a board's decision. Do you want to continue the live streaming or do we not want to continue the live streaming? Vicki, we're just deciding on this because it's been very low numbers. Usually for live streaming, we're now open to a public meeting. Other districts have, not that we have to do what other districts do, but they have stopped the live streaming. So it's your guys' decision.
How much work goes into live streaming?
So that's Diana.
Shoulders, okay. Then I vote no for you.
Well, no, I don't know. But I have no IT till tonight, so it's on me.
Yeah.
We've already had problems with the volume.
Mhm. Or,
And they're
mean,
not sharing this, people can download the agenda,
Right.
they get everything online.
And I know we invested in this adorable little owl, but
yeah,
could we just, for like, kind of special topic meetings?
Budget
Our
workshop, we
budget
did
workshop,
previously.
do that. That's a great
Kind of like if we have a
recommendation.
special meeting. we wanna-
Right,
yeah.
yeah, that we want to just make sure that the, information is
Right.
accessible.
Right.
Right, but the regular board meetings, we would
agree
live
with
stream. I agree with you, Vicki.
Good idea.
Greg, would
I'm
you-
okay with it. I mean, it all started because of COVID, right?
Right,
I mean,
yep.
so.
Yeah, we got our use
But
out
others-
of that.
Yeah,
Another situation arises where, you know,
Right.
we had hundreds, right?
Right.
When they're COVID, so.
Mhm. All right, so for our regular board meetings, we will no longer live stream and then, I think it's a good idea to do the workshops. Okay,
Effective July 5th. We'll put a message out so people.
yeah, so, you know, it's right, this is a good time to make that decision since this is the last meeting of the year.
Yep.
So, okay. Graduation is coming up, so if you guys could just RSVP to Jason to let him know, if you will be attending or not.
And then Mark is here, and I just wanted to ask, Mark was gonna just give a very high-level overview, and if there were
Okay.
questions. If you're good and comfortable, we don't wanna take up time, but he's here, and he just wanted to answer any questions for those that are participating.
Right, and I guess, Mark, if you can let people know what time you'd like us to arrive and,
Depends, it's gonna be raining.
well, let's hope not. All the
Big
other years
determining
have been
factor.
beautiful.
Yeah, so the first plan anyway is Friday, the 23rd. That would be at 7 PM. If you get there, we get the students there by 6:15. If you want to start arriving, around that time because, we'll get everybody seated where they need to be seated. So I'd say 6:15 would be a good, if you're gonna come on that Friday night. Now, we had the most arid weather ever in May. And so naturally, we're scared to death right now that it's going to rain. 55% chance last time I looked or something like that, but it's a little far out. But, so what will happen is if it's raining on Friday night, we'll make that call by 5 PM. We'll let all of our families know. The technology is nice. We can let people know instantly now, which is good. And if the Saturday weather looks better, it'll be at 10 AM in the morning. The reason it's at 10 AM is because there's a lot of parties already scheduled. People have booked events at Endwell Greens and a number of other places. So it has to be early. Otherwise, somebody's going to lose a graduation party. So it'll be in the morning outside because ultimately we still want it outside because it's a way better environment. If both days look like a rain out, it'll be we'll do it Friday night, but in our gym, which will be fine. We'll pull it off. The only thing is there's restriction on guest number, obviously, in a gym compared to outdoors in our bleachers. So every kid will get tickets where two can go, essentially two family members can go into the gymnasium, but everybody else has to go to the auditorium or cafeteria for a live stream. And so we'll give out tickets to all those people. So some of it's weather depending, but either way, we'll get it done and it'll be a good event. But yeah, we'd love to have anybody who wants to come be a part of it.
able to live stream it other than just in the cafeteria?
Yeah, so it'll be live streamed right through our website.
Okay.
Either way, even if it's
Yeah.
outside on the football field, it'll be live streamed.
And we just like to know as soon as possible for who's coming so that we can have you lined up, because you proceed with us in the beginning in the front, so we like to make sure we have numbers.
Yep.
So, I mean, even if it's like 72 hours, 48 hours before, we just need to know who's physically showing up on the 23rd.
And if you've never been to one, it's an unbelievable way to end a school year. It really is. It's a special night. I mean, the energy's great, the environment's, it's just an electric night. Last year, we had, pure sunshine, so with any luck, it'll be like that.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions for Mark?
I think so.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Also, as you saw and Jason included, I just want to make sure everybody takes note of those additional dates for the Board of Education professional development. The way that we're hoping that's going to work is we're all going to get together here or in a conference room. It's going to be like a live stream professional development that's been organized for us. So make sure you mark those dates down. I had a quick question, and since Kevin's here, that hockey thing that was sent to us, you need board approval. You're gonna present in July, but did it say on there that you needed to commit in May?
They're looking for early commitment, just so that.
Oh,
they
that's
can
just an
get
early
that,
commitment. That's
yeah.
not a, okay,
I mean,
that's-
as soon as they get commitment, they're, trying to move forward as fast as they can.
okay,
They're worried about purchasing ice time, which needs to be done
right.
yesterday, you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. All right, so we'll look forward to all that in July then. All right, thanks, Kevin. And anybody else have anything before I move on? A little bit here. So I wanted to introduce all board members in case you haven't met yet. I mean, obviously, no, Brady Lindsay's now gonna be our new board student member. And in the audience is Kathy. Kathy Baker, she is our new Board of Education member. So as of July 12th, we will go ahead. Nope, it's not the 12th, July 5th. We will have our reorg meeting and she will be joining us at that meeting. So, and then Ava can't be here, but if you guys can send her a message or something just to thank her and for all that she's done throughout this school year. We really have enjoyed her a lot. And Vicky. So this is Vicky's last Board of Education meeting. And I just wanted to say, on behalf of the Board of Education, we want to say thank you for all of your time, for your volunteer hours and your dedication, the energy that you have brought, the questions that you have brought forward, your dedication to our students, our faculty, our staff, our administration, our community members. Your leadership, mentorship has helped this board be successful towards our goals and towards our visions. Your contributions of ideas and energy and questions have led us to growth. Personally, you were a board member that I didn't even know when I sat right next to you. And you were very welcoming. You made me feel very comfortable. And I have enjoyed working alongside of you, having you be the times when you were the vice president, and you've been a great mentor to me. Again, like I just wrote like my little notes, you provided me with wise counsel and have become a friend that I truly find inspiring, and your thoughtful guidance helped us accomplish a lot here as the Board of Education, and we couldn't have done a lot of this without you. So thank you for your time. Say something about for mentoring.
I just wanted to thank you when I came onto the board. You were, you met often. We had great conversation, and I grew so much from that, and I thank you for that time.
I want to thank you both and you all. I did send a little note that, but I have really, it's been really an honor to work alongside of you and to develop a friendship. And so I appreciate that. And I have so much respect for, Jason and your team and fellow members of the board. It's a really, really important job. And I'm very proud that it's one that our district takes really seriously. And everyone in this room puts our students at the center of all of our decisions and all of our discussions. And that's something I'm really honored to have been a part of for the years that I have been. And just know that I will be, not by Zoom, I guess, but I'll be supporting from the bleachers and just really thankful for the work and the dedication that you all have. So I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Vicki. So if there's anything else from anybody, otherwise we can go ahead and onto consent agenda. Good? Okay, so moving on. Next up is our consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve consent items 4.1 through 4.6 under consent agenda? So moved by Lindsay. Second by Vicki. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next are personnel items. May I have a motion to approve personnel items 5.1 through 5.14 under personnel?
So moved.
Moved by Greg.
Second.
Second by Mike. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is new business. May I have a motion to approve items 6.1 through 6.14 under new business?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Lynn. Second by Lindsay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're entering into the period of public comment. Is there anybody that has signed up for
No.
public comment? No, we're good? Okay, thank you. Since we do not have anyone speaking to wish, I will dispense reading of the guidelines. And next we are moving into our executive session. At this time, the board will enter into executive session to discuss the superintendent's self-evaluation and employee A. We anticipate no further actions. We will resume regular session shortly. May I have a motion to enter executive session?
So moved.
Moved by Vicki,
Second.
second by Mike. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.